Here's the comparison between the new GoPro Hero 12 Black versus the DJI Osmo Action 4. The GoPro retails at the moment at $450, while the Osmo Action 4 retails at $430. There's also a creator kit available for almost $700 that features a Bluetooth selfie stick, an LED and the Media Mod. While if you pay $100 more on the DJI Osmo Action 4, you get a triple battery charger, 3 batteries, so as the selfie stick, including this camera. As you can see, the DJI is slightly smaller, weighs 145 grams. Both cameras have their power button here on this side and the shutter button on top. There's something on the body. As you can see here on the DJI Osmo Action 4, you open up this flap and you have a battery compartment, so as the micro SD slot. I can close that, I can also remove that flap. And on this side, we do have another flap, which is removed at the moment, so it's not waterproof in this stage, which covers only the USB Type-C port. Why that is important? Because it makes it so much easier to record a time-lapse or a longer video if we connect this camera to a power bank, the car charger, or for instance your notebook adapter or something. GoPro does not have a second compartment at this side. I can open up this flap right now, I can remove it, I can put it back in place if I wish to, I can close that up. Now it's waterproof, now it's not waterproof anymore. And this compartment features the battery, the micro SD slot, so as the USB Type-C port. So it's open at all times while you record a longer video, while it's connected, for instance, to a power bank. And to be honest, I like this way a little bit more because the battery is not open. So it might happen that the battery falls off if you're in a kind of shaky situation. Maybe you drive in your car and that's being connected to a suction cup, for instance. Unless you get a flap that has the USB Type-C port open for about $15. If we compare both cameras with each other, GoPro weighs just a bit more and is slightly bigger than the DJI Osmo Action 4. The bottom side of the DJI Osmo Action 4 is magnetic, by the way, so you can attach this camera to all magnetic surfaces. Here's a magnetic clip that comes with the DJI Osmo Action 4. That means you can mount it to all suction cups or selfie sticks. While on GoPro you have this mount included in the camera housing since the GoPro Hero 8 Black, if I remember correctly, and there's also a tripod thread included. So I can open up this action mount. There's a big downside. If you use the Media Mod to attach external microphones, for instance, you have to close that at all times and you can't remove the Media Mod from the camera unless you get rid of those action mounts. If you want to change the lens on the GoPro the first time, it seems to be quite hard. However, it works and you can remove this and can attach, for instance, the Max Lens Mod. While on the DJI Osmo Action 4 it works the same way, and anytime you want to attach an ND filter, for instance, you can clip it straight onto the camera lens. All the buttons around both cameras, they're quite sensitive and they work in the same way. For instance, if I push the trigger button for 2 seconds, both cameras start a video straight away. That is called quick capture. And if I use the power button in a short tap, I can switch between modes, so they have basically the same function. Let's speak about video. The maximum resolution on the GoPro Hero 12 Black is 5.3K with a maximum of 60 frames per second. If you want to record your videos in 4K, that's possible with up to 120 frames per second for great slow motion scenes. And if you need more frames per second, you can downgrade to Full HD and record your videos with up to 240 frames per second, provided that you have enough ambient light available. On the GoPro there's also an HDR mode, which gives you kind of more dynamic into your videos, and to be honest, I tried it out and it really does a good job. So if you have a lot of shadows and a lot of lights at the same time, for instance during a sunset or during a bright daylight, it's kind of enhancing the shadows. You can see all the details in the shadows and it's not washing out the sky, for instance. There are also different kind of formats like 16:9, 9:16, 4:3, and a new format is 8:7, in which you can also record a 5.3K clip with a maximum of 30 frames per second. While on the DJI Osmo Action 4 the maximum resolution is 4K with up to 120 frames per second, which is also super nice for slow motion scenes, provided that you have a fast writing micro SD card. The one I use is listed in the video description below, and for reference, if you use a 256GB memory card, you can record in 4K with 50 or 60 frames per second for almost 4 hours. The DJI Osmo Action 4 also lets you record in full HD with up to 240 frames per second. I didn't see any HDR mode on the Osmo Action 4, however, I highlighted in my previous review about this camera that it has a stunning dynamic anyways. So I was walking on a really sunny day and I was holding the camera in the sky, and at the same time I had some shadows in the background and I could spot all the details. The video is super crisp and the sky was not washed out at all. And if you compare the video performance of both cameras during hours of darkness, the clear winner is the Osmo Action 4. On the GoPro, the video looks very muddy and much better on the Osmo Action 4, especially at low frame rates like 24, 25 or 30 frames per second. And as a reference, I was recording in 4K using 50 frames per second for almost an hour on both cameras. In my point of view, the GoPro was slightly better, like 5 to 10 minutes more, but I switched also between full HD, sometimes 5.3K, and yeah, almost an hour, let's say, with both cameras. As a conclusion for the video mode, both have a great video performance. The video quality seems to be a bit better on the Osmo Action 4 because it looks more realistic, while on the GoPro it kind of looks something like AI generated. I can't tell you why that is. On an HDR video I was kind of impressed about the dynamic. However, it looks more real and the colors do look more real on the Osmo Action 4. You have a total field of view of 155 degrees, while on the GoPro 156 degrees, and you can extend it with the Max Lens mod to 177 degrees field of view. However, therefore you're limited to 4K 60 and you cannot record in 5.3K with your 30 or 60 frames anymore. The field of view I use the most is just wide, so it doesn't make any sense for me at all. However, I can understand if you do extreme sport like snowboarding, windsurfing or something, I would go for more field of view to have all the background also on my video. And now I have an audio test for you. Another microphone test here at the Main River in Frankfurt. Behind me is a ship. There's a bit of wind passing through this area here, and that is the internal microphone. So there's definitely some more wind over here. And I'm still recording myself now in 4K 50, and once again that is the internal microphone. So actually it was a good idea to go upstairs because there's a lot of wind actually, and I didn't realize that. So something that has changed and improved a lot, by the way, is that you can now use the internal microphone of your Apple AirPods, for instance. Some other Bluetooth microphone will work as well. I haven't tried them out, but this one here seems to be working. You just go to pair device, you set your Apple AirPods into pairing mode, and then you should hear the audio produced by the microphone of the AirPods. Here's the microphone of the Media Mod attached now to the GoPro Hero 12. On a wonderful September day, the sun is almost setting here in the background and the wind is calm. I do hear an aircraft passing by. I have now attached the ultra great looking Sennheiser MKE 440 microphone. That is a battery powered microphone. It runs on 2 AAA batteries, which last for about like 80 to 100 hours or something. One of my favorite microphones is this one here. That is from DJI. That is the DJI microphone in the single version. So I'm holding now a wireless microphone here in my hands, and the receiver is attached to the Media Mod. Look at this building over there. I tried to zoom in very quick. It's super windy, by the way. You can tell from all the grasses here. It's an extreme test. I have now the wind protection attached to the DJI mic. Just remember back in the COVID days when they locked up all the places and you were not allowed to go down on the street except for getting some groceries. Just imagine being locked up into this place over there with like all the neighbors stuck really close to each other. I mean, do you ever wonder why you get depressed?
Quite interesting town. You do have some bank districts here with all the high buildings, but they look like if they haven't been renovated for the last 30 years anymore. And here are all the nice old buildings just behind me. They look beautiful. However, you can really see that no one is investing any money anymore in these kind of buildings.
Let's speak about hyperlapse and time-lapse videos. A hyperlapse is called Time Warp on the GoPro, and it's there since the GoPro Hero 7 Black. A hyperlapse is basically a video which is just played back faster, and it's stabilized, by the way. So you can choose between 2, 5, 10, 15 or 30x speed, and it is recorded without any audio. Same applies to the Osmo Action 4. The only thing you need to do is go into time-lapse mode, swipe from the left to the right, and then you're in hyperlapse mode. And if you have a look at the bottom, you can select your speed. And in general, I would say if you move together with your camera, then it's time to take a hyperlapse video. And anytime your camera is stationary, it's time for a time-lapse movie. A hyperlapse is super nice if you move with the camera holding a selfie stick, for instance, and walk through the park. I would go for probably 2 or 5x. And if you drive from New York to Miami, make sure to connect the camera to a power source. And I would probably go for 30x, provided that the camera is attached to a suction cup, for instance. If you're stationary and you want to record the construction of your house and you want to make it a bit quicker, that's time for a time lapse. If you want to capture all the nice clouds passing by on a really sunny day, it's also time to place any of these two cameras on a tripod and go for an interval of, let's say, 5 to 10 seconds. You can take all the nice hyperlapses, time warp videos and time lapse videos in Full HD, 2.7K, 4K or 5.3K. On both cameras you can decide if the camera shall merge all the clips together to a final time-lapse or hyperlapse video, or if you want to get individual photos to merge them together in post, for instance using Adobe Lightroom or Photoshop. If we speak about the photo mode, GoPro impresses with up to 27 megapixels. I'm not a guy who's zooming into any of these action camera photos. I just want to have a nice photo, to be honest. So I'm not cropping in, I'm not zooming in, and I'm not really taking care about many details. If you're more into photography, it's probably time to go for the GoPro, and if you take more care about dynamic, well, it's probably time for the Osmo Action 4, which only lets you take photos with a maximum resolution of 10 megapixels. So as I said, I'm not cropping in, I'm not zooming in, I just want to have a nice photo, let's say of a sunset, for instance. So I would say both have a really nice dynamic and a nice look, by the way. The colors on the Osmo Action 4, they tend to look more natural, while on a GoPro they kind of look super dreamy, to be honest. Sometimes they kind of look like these AI generated photos from my point of view. However, GoPro lets you record any photos in super photo mode, normal photo mode, HDR mode, which stands for high dynamic range, and both cameras lets you also record in RAW when it comes to post-editing using, for instance, a program like Adobe Lightroom. So if you care about megapixels and you want to crop in or zoom in, then it's time for you to take the GoPro. If you don't care about photography at all on any of these two action cameras and you don't really care about the megapixels either, well, then you can still decide for the Osmo Action 4. And by the way, both cameras lets you also record interval photos, while the GoPro lets you also record in burst mode, which I have not found here on the Osmo Action 4. Let's summarize here. GoPro's camera menu seems to be a bit overloaded, and something that you do need is super deep into the camera menu. For instance, if you would like to switch between 50 and 60 frames per second, you have to go into Preferences, Video, and you have to go into Anti-Flicker and change from 50 to 60 Hz. While on the Osmo Action 4, you just in video mode, swipe from the bottom to the top and you can swipe between all the frame rates like 24, 25, 30, 48, 50 and up to 120 frames per second, which makes it much more easier, and it's super useless to switch between 50 and 60 Hz in the camera's menu. That's my point of view. The overall menu seems to be a bit better structured here on the Osmo Action 4. It's not as sensitive as on the GoPro, so anytime I tap on any of these menu points, I will go to the correct one, while on GoPro the camera's menu is kind of more compressed, so sometimes it happens that I press this mode and I accidentally pushed on the other mode. Both cameras feature voice control as well, which works a bit better here on the GoPro Hero 12, and it has also more commands than on the Osmo Action 4. As I said at the beginning, the battery life of both cameras is almost the same, but about 5 to 10 minutes longer on the GoPro. Video performance is super nice on both cameras. This camera here, the GoPro, lets you record in 5.3K with up to 60 frames per second, while the Osmo Action 4 only lets you record in 4K with up to 120 frames per second, which the GoPro features as well, 4K 120. However, I don't go beyond 4K anyways for all of my videos. However, if you need a bit of more details and you might want to crop in, it's probably time to take the GoPro. The colors on the Osmo Action 4 tend to look more natural and a kind of artificial here on the GoPro. If we speak about low light performance, the clear winner is definitely the Osmo Action 4. And remember, the lower the frame rate, the better your results. Both cameras do also feature a log profile if you want to do color grading in post. And something which sucks a lot is that you cannot control this GoPro in the 12th generation already using its front display, which works super nice here on the Osmo Action 4. You can go through the entire menu, you can change the frame rate, the resolution, you can set your speed for a hyperlapse, you can go into photo mode, you can select a timer, and all with that front screen. And something I like a lot is that you can just attach it to any metallic surface out there. So I'm curious to hear your opinion. Are you more a GoPro user or a DJI user? Make sure to leave a comment below. And if this video was helpful to you, please make sure to check out my front store. You will find the GoPro, the Osmo Action 4, with all the accessories I used within the last few years. They're all listed in one store. You can buy them straight away from Amazon. And if you do have any further questions, please make sure to leave a comment below. See you next time on Tschüss.